When we're thinking about chemical reactions, it's really important to know which direction the chemical reaction will go spontaneously, that is, all by itself without any outside intervention. And so we need some way to determine whether a process is going to be spontaneous, go in the direction written, or not. And to do this, we're going to use something called the Gibbs free energy. The Gibbs free energy can be defined. We use delta G to represent the change in Gibbs free energy. It can be defined as the change in enthalpy minus T times the change in entropy. So what is Gibbs free energy and what does it tell us? Let's think about what delta H is. Delta H tells us about the total energy in the system. How much energy is available total in the system? T delta S is an energy term because remember that delta S has units of joules per Kelvin and T has units of Kelvin. And so overall, T delta S has units of joules. So it's an energy. And it represents the amount of energy that is not available to do work. So this is because this is the amount of energy that has been randomized and has gone to increasing the entropy of the system, and that randomized energy is not available to do work, to push the system in a particular direction. So if we take the total energy and we subtract the amount of energy not available to do work, then what we get is just the energy that's available for work. And so delta G really is the energy available for work. So how much work can we do with a certain process? And that's what delta G tells us. So let's see how this works. Let's start from the first law of thermodynamics. So we know that the change in energy, internal energy, is Q plus W. And at constant pressure, we can represent W with minus P delta V. So delta E is equal to Q minus P delta V. Now, the second law tells us that Q is always going to be less than or equal to T delta S. And so if I replace Q in the first law with T delta S, I'm putting in a value that is larger than Q. So this side is going to be larger than delta E. So I can write that delta E is less than or equal to T delta S minus P delta V. Now let's subtract delta E from both sides. So 0 is less than or equal to T delta S minus delta E minus P delta V. I can pull the minus sign, factor it out of these two terms, and write that as 0 is less than or equal to T delta S minus delta E plus P delta V. And you may recall from an earlier video that this was defined as delta H. And so now I have, finally, let's see, 0 is less than or equal to T delta S minus delta H. Or I could multiply through by a minus sign, but when I do that, if I multiply through by a minus sign, I'll have to switch the order of the inequality. And so I am going to end up finally with 0 is greater than or equal to delta H minus T delta S. And so you know, as we defined just a little while ago, this is equal to delta G. And so delta G is less than or equal to 0 for any real spontaneous process. And this is the criteria we are going to use to figure out whether something is spontaneous or not.